Welcome to the Insightful Player podcast. My name is Chrissy Carew. I'm the host and founder of Insightful Player and the author of Insightful Player, Football Pros Lead a Bold Movement of Hope. I partner with NFL players to transform our world to be inclusive, kinder, and more loving. In each episode, I interviewed NFL players and NFL vets who overcame tremendous obstacles to reach their dream of playing in the NFL. And I'm also a transformational coach. I empower my clients to embrace their dreams, to transform their world and the world around them. And we want you to believe in your dreams and encourage you to commit to them now. Humanity is in trouble. We need you. We all need to do this. We need to embrace our dreams and share them with others so we can have an immediate positive impact on making our world a much kinder place. We invite you to become an important part of our bold movement of hope. Watch this podcast, share it with others, and let us know what you want to see.
Welcome back to
to support you
podcast.
An insightful player in your life.
Very special guest on today. It's Chris Draft. I think I met you, Chris, back in 2010-ish, something like that.
Before that.
Even before that, 2009, I think maybe. I affectionately refer to Chris as the Mother Teresa of the NFL. He's retired for 13 years as a linebacker, and to say he's a devoted philanthropist is an understatement. He's someone that's in perpetual motion, always helping others, and he has ever since I've met him. And back when he was playing, the players would be so exhausted when they started training camp. Well, not Chris, because he had so much of a workout in between seasons doing all his philanthropic. So welcome, Chris. I'm so happy to have you on our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about. Chris has a wonderful foundation, Chris Draft Family Foundation, and Team Draft is an initiative of the Chris Draft Family Foundation that I want you to talk about because it's just so special.
Yeah, so Team Draft was founded as an initiative within the Chris Draft Family Foundation, really based on my late wife, Keisha Rutledge Draft. She was diagnosed with lung cancer in December of 2010. She was 37 years old, in amazing shape, and out of nowhere had a little shortness of breath. And instead of ignoring it, like so many people, she had a great relationship with her primary care doc. So she called and got an appointment. At that appointment, again, was very honest about what was going on. And he said, here's some antibiotics, but also I want to get a chest x-ray. She got a chest x-ray, and a couple of days later, we found out, or really not a couple of days later, we found out she had a mass in her left lung. Mass in her left lung, and you're hoping that that's not cancer, but all the indicators are yes. So 2 days after Christmas, December 27th, 2010, we confirmed to a biopsy that it was lung cancer. And so we found out the most important fact about lung cancer, that anyone can get it. Anyone can get it. A 37-year-old woman with no history of smoking, that it's an amazing shape, that danced before I met her in the NBA with the Charlotte Hornets, that is a electrical engineer by training, that is, that pharmaceutical sells, that is just, all this good stuff. It can happen to anyone. It really can. And then unfortunately, the other part we found out is that too often it's found late stage. And so after getting a PET scan and an MRI, we found out early January that it was stage 4, and not just stage 4, but it actually had spread to her brain already. And so you go from challenging me to do P90X and getting, trying to get me to run a 10K race to stage 4 lung cancer, where not a great prognosis. And, she started on standard chemotherapy and radiation. There were some new therapies that were out there that she was tested for. And unfortunately, she wasn't able to be on them. But so she was on, standard chemo and radiation, and ended up living for a year. So she passed December 27th, 2011. But before she passed, we got married. So we got married November 27th, 2011. And she, before that date, before she came to me, she said, what if we don't get presents? Well, if we ask our family and friends to support the foundation, and literally that moment is, is when she transitioned. She transitioned from a person that was fighting for herself, which is right on for that to be a priority. That she went from that point to a priority of other people, of saying, what can we do to help others? And so that's where Team Draft was founded. It was founded really when she came to me, and then it was validated on our wedding day when we made our commitment to each other and to the lung cancer community. So two commitments on our wedding day, and I tell people that commitment is critical, is crucial, and it came from her, right? So when they say, "Oh, you started Team Draft," or the foundation was started in honor of her, I said, no, it was the foundation was started before her, say 2006, but the initiative was started because of her, right? Not because of her as it relates to her having lung cancer, but because she made a commitment and then asked me to join that commitment, right? So it was her. It was led by her, and it's a challenge to everyone that they have to make their own choice about where they stand. And so when she passed December 27th, 2011, I had to ask myself some questions, because it couldn't be, oh, you just keep going and you just hold on to her commitment. That's her commitment. That's not mine. I have to have my own commitment. And that started with being honest about the fact that, could I accept that whatever I did moving forward, whatever we did as a group of people, that nothing would bring Keisha back. Nothing would bring her back. Could I accept that? I mean, otherwise, I would just bring such a negative attitude to all the advocacy, because I'm literally trying to accomplish something it's just impossible. Number two, can I be happy for people doing well? So there are new therapies out here, that people are doing well on, that it is, the experience can be completely different. Can I be happy for that? For someone that is diagnosed early stage, or someone who is on treatments that are working better? Yes. And then the third one, am I willing to fight for it? So I can be happy that certain people are benefiting, but am I willing to fight to make sure that everyone benefits? Right. And that's the key. Am I willing to fight to make sure that, by using the platform of the NFL, to make sure that everyone gets the best chance as it relates to this disease? And along the way, they know that people care about them and they are educated with the information that they need. So that's Team Draft, and that is the commitment that is changing the face of lung cancer. But again, each person has their own individual commitment that they have to make to be involved.
Well, that's one of the things I admire about you most. You're so willing to go in and ask yourself those scary questions that you don't have answers for right away, and to grapple and to really dig deep and come out on the other side. And you came on the other side. Yes, I'm going to fight for this. And that's so admirable.
Yeah, I had to ask myself those questions right away, though. I mean, I really needed to get the answers right away, because otherwise I would carry hate into advocacy. So it's not, I can't wait to answer those questions. I have to ask them right now. Is that, can I accept that nothing's going to bring my wife back? Because that'll change the energy that I bring in the room, right? That I'm walking in a room and I'm like, oh, I wish it would happen for Keisha, and oh my goodness. And so in a space where there's too much negativity, I would have added more. And so I needed to be honest right away, that says, am I going to add to this fight moving forward, or am I going to use my platform, this huge platform, to add negativity? And I had to be honest right away, because I could tip the scales. We don't need any more negativity. We need a whole bunch of positivity, but no more. We don't need any more negativity.
So true. And sometimes we say yes when we mean no. And it's so great that you got so clear on, yes, I want to do this. And it hasn't been an easy road. I know that you just committed yourself. But before we go there, how did that impact your healing? I mean, did you have time to really mourn your beautiful wife?
Well, there's a mourning process that is my individual process, and then there's the the obvious fact that the NFL has been supportive from the beginning, and I had talked to them about being supportive of any of the work. And the commissioner of the NFL said whenever Keisha was ready, whenever we were ready, that they were ready. And so it created, that the opportunity to hit the ground running and do something about it. I mean, the mourning or the grieving is about my wife and absolutely a part of it. But again, she's not coming back, so that part, it's going to be there, right? And
Cool.
and the memories are going to come and they're going to flash back and all of this. Can I handle that? Can I handle the rush of emotion? And what I said, well, allow that emotion to be there, right? As I'm out fighting for other people, I'm going to shock this system because of the fact that I couldn't go to 60 cancer centers in the first year and I can fight for other people right away. I'm going to shock the system because they're going to say, how is it that you could be, you can do this and your wife just passed? And I'm saying she passed in 1 year. And so I can't wait for another year to start the advocacy, because then anybody like my wife that only lived for a year, we potentially could have changed things. It could have been moved forward, but I chose to wait. So no, it's urgent.
Right.
If there was a cure for my wife, I wanted it to be urgent. So I want the same thing for everyone else.
Well, you've never done anything a little bit. You always dive head first. And it's amazing because that first year you met with 60 cancer centers or something like that. Is that what you just said?
60 cancer centers, yes. And the key was that so many people talked about the lack of research dollars. They say that there's a lack of dollars, there's a lack of awareness, there's a lack of understanding of lung cancer. And so, well, I hear you, but there's a simplicity to the answer. And it says that the people only know the connection with smoking. They said, oh, that's all they know. That's all they know. And I said, well, yes, because that's what they were taught.
Right.
They were taught for 50 years the connection with smoking. They were taught since 1964. The Surgeon General said that cigarettes and cancer go together, right? 1964. So from that moment, everyone was taught to not smoke or you could get cancer, right? But there were competing interests, though, within that amount of time, because there was also this huge campaign that was Hollywood and athletes and ad people that were telling you that smoking was cool.
Right.
And so that convergence really happened in 1998, where they finally said, you know what, no. The cigarette industry got indicted in 1998 for $206 billion. And in the process, what they also did is they limited their ability to market to the younger people, to kids, to youth, and made them have to really check how addictive the cigarettes were, because they recognized that historically there was marketing towards our young people, and again that the addictive property. So I'm saying that in terms of that's how we knew lung cancer. And so it was all about prevention. It was all about the connection with smoking. So when they said, well, they don't know that research matters, they don't know that survivorship, they don't know about early detection or treatments, I said, yes, because we didn't tell them.
Right.
So
That's
experts,
so true.
where are you? I'm coming to you. I'm getting on the ground. I'm riding. I'm driving. I'm flying, taking the trains, planes, automobiles. I'm coming to you. I've got a platform called the NFL. It's the biggest and baddest guy on the block. And I said, but if I say that research matters by myself, I mean, it sounds good. I lost my wife, and I understand I'm too knowledgeable of lung cancer, but that's not good enough. I need experts. I need our experts for you guys to stand up. Here's a platform. Are you willing to stand up and say that lung cancer research is worth investing in, and that things are changing? So there will be actual results from that, which I've been able to see over the last 10 years.
And I know that wasn't easy. And I just want to make one point. Usually at the end of the Insightful Player interviews, I read one of your guiding principles. This is in my book, Insightful Player. And at the end of each chapter for players, I have the guiding principles. And the guiding principle that's screaming at me right now that I must read to you of Chris, because I want for you all to listen to this, because you might have some kind of cause that's frustrating you, concerning you. And I'd love for you to really look at this interview and Chris's wisdom that he shared. And I'm hoping it will spark something inside all of you to maybe tackle something. And this is what Chris says. Don't wait for someone else to step forward as a leader. Empower yourself to fix any problem you see or lead an effort which you. And I want you to think about this as you continue to listen to Chris today, because there's something out there that could be calling to you right now where you can contribute to humanity as well, like this. It continues to. It's just amazing. Because I know when we talked a long time ago, when you were starting out at this wasn't not easy, because of all the lack of information out there. You really had to fight hard.
Yeah, I mean it's a daily fight, and I think that's probably the hardest part as I try to gather advocates is that they want it to be easy, right? And so as you read the quote, I mean I think you were smiling when you read it. And it's so easy to kind of read. And then there's the reality that if something needs to change, that sometimes it can be very hard to acknowledge what it is, or at least for the people around you to acknowledge it. And then when you decide that you want to do something about it, that might mean that you're taking a system that was in place and you have to challenge that system to change, right? And so it's easier said than done. And that's why in the lung cancer community, I've said that the answer is very simple. It really is. If the goal is survivorship, then what we know is that we have to max out prevention, early detection, treatment, research to get to survivorship, right? Now, that's again, I can say that easy, I can say that. But then there's work to it, because now we have to overcome a historic campaign that said, you know what? All we need to do is to get people to stop smoking. All we need to do is prevent it. Versus now changing the culture, changing it where now the goal is survivorship. And that includes prevention, but it includes early detection, treatment, and research. And so many people have said, oh my goodness, how do we get that done? And it's like, well, it took time, it took work to educate the people about prevention. We need to do the same thing, but recognize we taught them the connection. It wasn't something that someone came up with on their own. They didn't wake up in the middle of the night and say, oh my goodness, I figured it out. If we just get people to stop smoking, that's all we need to do in lung cancer. They didn't. It was through research. It was through work that they found that out, and then they educated the people. What we know now is that's incomplete. It's not enough. Absolutely want people to get people to stop smoking, but we also know that radon is critical. We know that air quality is good. We know that just where people live is critical. We know that healthy lifestyles are critical to lowering cancer risk. But then early detection, treatment, research, survivorship.
Yes, that's so important. As you know, my father had lung cancer. It's not what took him, but he was lucky. He was being worked up pre-op for prostate surgery, and they found it early. And so we were praying for two cancers, so versus one that had metastasized. That's what happened. And that's not what took him. He was lucky, fortunate.
And that's early detection. There's two components of that. Well, one will be a screening component. The other one is an incidental nodule, where right now the screening component makes it where there's only a select group that can benefit from that, which is great. I mean, because there is a group that can benefit from it, but then there are people that are outside of that, where for us to find something early really comes down to them going in for something else and finding something, right? And making sure we're tracking that and following up on it. So, and that right there, an incidental nodule clinic versus lung cancer screening has actually proven in some areas to find 7 times the amount of cancers through screening. So what you said about your dad is right on, and it's one of the things that we have to fight for is that we're gonna, we're not gonna find all of them early. If we're just waiting as it relates to the criterion, but based on other things happening, that might be the key to finding lung cancer early.
You've saved a lot of lives. I know that for sure, from all the hard work and all the people that you inspired and brought together. Like, is this a good time to start talking about the white ribbon?
Well, it's absolutely. It's always a great time to talk about it. Let me look. Let me give you this. It's really big. It's right there. There's the white ribbon. To talk about the White Ribbon Project, where does it really start? It starts with Heidi and Pierre Onda. Heidi is a cancer survivor, lung cancer survivor, stage 3. Her husband Pierre, primary care caregiver. But Heidi, living in Denver, Colorado, and being in an area where we've had some strong advocates, she actually met some people that we were already engaging through Team Draft. And so I met her before the White Ribbon Project was started. And in meeting her, we were actually introduced by another survivor. Her name is Ann Phillips, amazing lady that earned the opportunity with her husband to go to the national championship when it was in Atlanta in 2018. And she earned that through her advocacy of raising money for the International Association for the Study of Lung Cancer that is based in Denver. But Ann said, I have a survivor that I want you to meet. I was coming out to Denver, so I have somebody I want you to meet. And it was Heidi. It was Heidi. And she told me that her husband was a primary care doc at that luncheon that we had. And I said, oh my goodness, you guys are going to change the world. And I think when I said that, I probably scared her more than anything. And she's probably thinking, man, this guy's crazy. What is he talking about? But I knew that the fact that her husband was a primary care doc was a huge thing, because together, in terms of advocacy, that the medical community and our advocates, survivors, caregivers, they have to be together as a team. So I knew that it would work, but as it moves forward and we moved into this Zoom world, it played itself out that much more, because they would do calls sitting right by each other, always sitting right by each other. And so she was never alone and he was never alone. They were always together. And so it showed this symbol of what we needed for the lung cancer community. And then as I fast forward to September 27, 2020, that all of a sudden it all came together, because I'd educated Heidi and Pierre in the idea that as a community, we get what we ask for. So if we don't ask for it, if we're not raising awareness, then we can't be surprised that there's a lack of awareness. And the key to getting that done is our cancer center, right? Our big organization, our cancer center. So one of the local cancer centers in Denver really didn't have a plan for Lung Cancer Awareness Month. Heidi and a number of the advocates were inquiring over at least a 6-month period, and finally got to a point where it's like, November is right around the corner and you don't have a plan. So she asked her husband to make a big white ribbon, so she could put it on the door. And she was going to put it on the door and have facts on her lawn. And she challenged all the rest of the advocates. She said, you know what? If they don't have a plan, that can't stop us. It can't stop us. If they don't have a plan for Lung Cancer Awareness Month, it cannot stop us. So she said, wrap some ribbons around some trees, put some facts in the lawn, but we've got to stand up. If we want people to hear us, we've got to stand up. And then she said, and my husband made me this white ribbon. So she shared it, and then a number of the advocates asked, could they get one? And from there, it just kind of trickled out. As again, we're in this Zoom world, so they would see it in the background, and then someone asked. And what Heidi realized very quickly was that if they were willing to ask for one, and they were willing to share it and hold it, that if it empowered them to be able to share their story and stand up more, that was a win. And so that's the heart and soul of the White Ribbon Project, is right there, is that It was made with love from, by Pierre to Heidi, the original one, the first one. And it gave her control, gave her validation that she was not alone and that she had a team with her. And so as the ribbons are made, and they're now in over 30 countries all over the world, and they are always made that same way. They have to be made with love. We're not just going and buying wood and getting into the jigsaw and all that. They're not, that's part of the process, but the process is built on the love that created the first ribbon, right? And that love that you give to someone else now reminds them that they are an individual, they are special, and that if we want things to change, we're not going to wait on anybody else. We're going to stand up. Right. And you're not alone because you're a part of a team. You're a part of the White Ribbon Project community, which is an inclusive team. And it's survivors, but any survivor. So regardless of staging, regardless of smoking history, regardless of where you live, regardless of where you're treated, this community is for you. If you're a caregiver, it's for you. If your family member, is for you. If you're a red-on, surgeon, nurse, social worker, it's for you. And really anyone who wants things to change and move forward, this community is for you. And so that's what the ribbon is. Ribbon meets people where they are. It reminds us that the reason why we're fighting is we're fighting for people, right? And we need to always make sure that is central to everything that we do, because that will then make sure that we have urgency in the way that we move.
Well, you really know what you stand for. And for those of you that are listening, I hope you're thinking about what you stand for, because look at how much Chris has contributed to, I don't know how many millions of people. I don't do you know? It's amazing. In the community, that we talked yesterday about, created the space for belonging and this intimacy that people often don't have when they're ill, right? They withdraw, and you have the opposite going on, building a community of love all around them, and their caretakers and their families, and that's what's missing in our world.
It is, and as we've talked about it before, it's just like a team. I mean, we've talked about why did you found Insightful Player, and so much of that is because of your influence in coaching and understanding teams. So the love that we're talking about is not something that is one day.
Right.
And I think that's the key of someone trying to find this magic bullet where if we can just do something, what's that one thing that we can do and it'll be done, versus realizing that we need to create a system. So when you see me out, I'm looking for leaders. And I tell people it should be obvious of what I'm doing. I'm out here building a community, building a team, building a strong team means that you have to have strong leaders. Where are our captains in all of our communities that are willing to stand up and say, we have a choice? Just like Heidi challenged the other advocates in Denver, we need someone in every community to challenge each other. And not just challenge each other because we need awareness. No, we challenge each other because we need the awareness with each individual person that you are not alone. We need the awareness that if you have questions, there's someone to answer those questions. You need the awareness that locally they are doing everything they can, so you don't have to travel 3, 4, 5 hours, get on a plane someplace else. And that awareness is something that we have to maintain. We have to fight for every day. It becomes easier as the system adjusts, but the reality is that we have to stay committed to it. And remember always that it is people that are being diagnosed. These are not just data points. They are not just numbers. They are individual people with people around them that care about.
Absolutely. And I can't imagine how scary that must be, and how scary that must have been for you and Keisha about that. I can't, I haven't lived that. So I mean, it's amazing. It's so wonderful. You've taken that pain and turned it into something so beautiful, creating so much healing and love all over our world. I'm lost for words when I speak to you, Chris. You know, like, bar inspiring. You're so humble too. It's nice. But your passion is so contagious. And what do you need for the people listening and watching today? What would you like to support you?
Well, definitely they can support the White Ribbon Project. But I think, the biggest thing is I want you to know that anyone can get lung cancer. So before I'm asking you to support anything, I want to make sure I educate you. I want you to know that anyone can get it. I don't want you to have to experience it. Let my story serve as an example. 37 years old. Yes, anyone can get it. Yes, the connection with smoking is real, but we already proved in 1998 that the people that smoke are victims of an industry, right? So we can't blame the people. Do not blame the people that are fighting against an addiction. Celebrate the people that have been able to stop smoking. Celebrate that. That's victory. Encourage the people who are struggling with it, that are trying to, but are not successful on it, but they're trying, right? And then make sure that in the community that we realize that it's people that are being diagnosed. So I'm saying this. I don't want something from you as much first as just an acceptance that anyone can get it, and the people that do get it, they need our love, our support, and our understanding. We are fighting for a community, the White Ribbon Project, and other lung cancer as other organizations. We're fighting for a community to make sure people know that they are loved and are met with that love at a cancer center, and they're met with the information that they need, and that we fight to have an equitable system across the board. So would love for your support in terms of White Ribbon Project, but I want you to know that's what we want. If your loved one is someone that is diagnosed, that they know that there are some people fighting for them, that there's a bunch of warriors that are there with them. The other part is if you've lost somebody. No, like I said, this ribbon is for people who have a connection and want things to change. So this ribbon's for you. So don't think it's just for survivors. I said it was an inclusive community, and that's what it is. So if you lost somebody, this ribbon is for you. If you know somebody, it's for you, right? And we want to make sure it gets given in a different way, but in that way, we want you to know, hey, I wish we could change it. We can't. We accept it, but hey, we feel you, care about you.
Wow, you personify the Insightful Player mission, to, transform culture to be inclusive, kind, and more loving. I mean, that's who you are, So thank you. Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
so much. It's amazing. So, I think that you create a great model for other people to follow in the world, even if it's in their own families, whether it's cancer or anything else. I mean the values that you live by and what you've created from,
Yeah, I think sometimes they look too much at the cause, and rather than just see that the mechanics of what we're doing it's not anything special. So they said, well, what am I doing? I said, well, I need to be honest about how we define victory. So when I say that victory historically in the lung cancer community was just getting people to stop smoking, that's not me saying it. That's how it was laid out. I have to be honest about history, so then I can be honest about where we're going or where we want to go, right? So I would say with anybody that's trying to solve a problem is be honest about where we were. Be honest about that, right? And then you have to be honest about where do you want to go, right? I've done a number of presentations at colleges, and we use this program called Habitudes, and one of the visuals, Habitudes is basically images that convey certain themes, and one of them is it's a compass or a GPS. And the idea that the compass can only show you the direction that you're going, but the GPS can actually give you directions, right? But I would take that a step further, and I would say, but the GPS without a destination can only show you where you are. The GPS is no better than a compass without a destination. So what is our destination? That's what's critical with the lung cancer community. That's what I've challenged them. And it has to be a destination that we are all bought into, right? So, and like I say, that is difficult. It's easy to say, but it could be very difficult because you're saying getting everybody on the same page, going in the same direction with the same goal.
So you're a visionary. So you saw what other people couldn't see.
Well, I would say not so much. I saw what they. I would say I saw what they didn't want to accept. Right.
Okay.
They called it a stigma in the lung cancer community that people only knew the connection with smoking. I said, no, that's just what we taught them because that's what we believed. And so the question is, are we willing to change? They said, well, no, it's a stigma. I said, no, it's just what we taught them. So the real question, are we ready to teach them something different? Are we willing to own the new destination? The old destination was set. It was clear. That's where we were going. And now there's conflict because we haven't completely bought into the new destination. That's been my work.
Beautiful.
I need people to buy into the new destination and buy it as one that is our community. It's not an individual destination. It's not a couple of people destination. It's not just these people over in this city destination. It has to be a community destination.
I agree. And I think that's what people crave right now. There's so much loneliness out there. And people feel really stuck and complacent because they don't, they're numbed out of what's going on in our culture. So yeah. What do you say to people that are out there that are hurting, whether it's sickness or something else, about how to move forward and how to make a contribution to their world, Like, why would it be valuable?
It's such a great question. I think, again, it goes back to the honesty of where we are. Mm-hmm. The hard part nowadays is that you can get compared to people all over the world because of social media and technology. And it makes it where with so many folks that they feel like they're not doing enough. It's because they're able to compare themselves with the person who's doing the most, right? Rather than feeling comfortable with what you're doing. And so what I would say is that we have to spend more time on that work nowadays. We have to spend more time because there's more opportunities to see other people. So be confident in what you're able to do. I've had a number of people say to me, Chris, I can't do what you can do. And I'm like, yeah, I hear you. Right? I mean, who told you that you needed to, right? I haven't got remarried. I don't have kids. So there are things. I played in the NFL for 12, 13 years. I mean, there are things that I can do that other people can't. But then there's plenty of things that other people can do that I can't, right? So I would say more than anything to people, own who you are. Own it. Love it. See yourself. You have to love yourself first. And that really is exactly what we're doing with the White Ribbon Project is that we've got to get people to love themselves first before they can give love to others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have a passion that if we marry our greatest heartache to our deepest passion and gifts, that's how we collectively transform the world.
It can, but we need direction. We need direction.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
That's where you need the people, because it allows you to be authentic. Again, that's what we see, so many places, that someone who didn't set out to do a particular thing, that all of a sudden their experience is what drives them and makes it completely authentic. But I'll tell you, what I've seen too often, though, is that, yes, those people exist, but I also see so many people that would want to do something that a system doesn't accept them, doesn't allow them to be able to share. And so if they're not strong enough to carve their own thing out, then they end up not being able to do anything. So
right.
I had the blessing of meeting a guy that lost his mom at a Lowe's this past weekend in Boston. And I was with a university student from Tufts who was a part of a collective, was leading a White Ribbon Project build in the Boston area. And I had told her before we went that as we go, every room that we walk into, there are people that could potentially have a connection with lung cancer. I said, I don't know who they are, but they're there. And I've said that a number of times, but this was the day that we were going to go and get the wood. And we're sharing, we walked in with the ribbon and show the guy because he's going to cut the wood for us. And then he ends up sharing. I lost my mom to lung cancer. And so we were able to tell him, we're going to cut these ribbons and we're going to make them later on today. And we're going to bring you back a ribbon. And he had got another guy to help as he was cutting. His name was Bobby and James. So 2 ribbons are going to go back to that Lowe's to say thank you and make sure that he knows that he's not alone and that his story matters.
That's so touching. That is so touching. You're pouring so much love into the world. Well, I would love to have you come back on and talk more about this. It's just so valuable, and you're such an inspiration. I think you'll help a lot of people. It's just how. Just so, do you have anyone that you want to shout out for? Anyone in that community or?
Yeah, it's. I know when you said it, we were talking about it before. I mean, it's hard because I want to shout out so many people because again, to be able to build a community, I think sometimes it's almost like I should say build a nation so they can understand how big it is, right? That's what we're doing. Is we're building a community. 3 years ago at this time, I was in London speaking at the UK Lung Cancer Nurses Conference, and there were some amazing people that are leaders there that have invited me to come out. So I'm going to give some shout outs to people all over the world that are taking a lead, from Australia to Israel to the UK to Sweden, the Netherlands to Italy to Spain in Africa, to Egypt. I was there at the pyramids. We were doing a lung cancer program there. So I'm giving shout outs around, and then just so many people in all, what are we looking for? People in all of our cities that are standing up in all these major cancer centers, because we need a voice. We need that voice that is there, that is going to make sure that there's always love, that they're always met with love, and that we can't take a day off on that. No. So there are people that have taken a stand. They're too numerous for me to be able to say all of their names. I got a whole bunch of them in my head, but I don't want to miss out, just like I missed out on some of the countries that, and again, don't hold that against me, because again, I know there are amazing people all over that are getting it done, that they are taking a stand, just like my wife, just like Heidi, and saying that there are things that we can control and there are things that we can, and that is making sure our people know that they're not alone and making sure they have the information that they need, and then fighting to make sure the system is as equitable as possible.
Excellent. Well, I want to shout out for Heidi and Pierre,
Shout it out.
Yeah, thank you so much. You've contributed so much, and including to Chris and his beautiful cause, and you're all part of it, and you're making a huge difference with a beautiful legacy, all of you, and the lives you're touching and saving and filling up with love. So, I mean, that's the answer. Love is always the answer. So thank you.
It
Chris.
is.
Thank you. So
Thank
I want to read one more of his guiding principles before we go. He has a lot of really good ones. Look for the opportunity to change someone else's life. Exactly what we're doing. Many lives. So thank you. Please come back. And
Yes.
Everyone, thank you for listening. And really, really rewind this interview and listen to Chris. He has so much to share. He's a tremendous healer, and that's what we all need in our world. So Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And everyone, thank you for watching or listening, depending upon the platform. And we'll see you again next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
The entire Insightful Player podcast initiative is dedicated to the late Tom Constantino. Tom Constantino was my PR consultant. He was over the moon fabulous. He was really an exceptional human being. And Insightful Player wouldn't have made it to where it is now if it wasn't for Tom. So Tom, up there in heaven, I just want you to know you're going to live in my heart forever. And I am forever grateful for you. Thank you.